usually have like a 3-1 team. 3-1 team. Let's check in the draws of this match. Let's
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our watch along right here on News X. So this is World Cup Mania. My name is Naledi Apani, bringing you all the action as it unfolds in the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023. What happened yesterday is something that deserves to be unpacked and talk about everything that went down in that match between Bangladesh and Pakistan, and a very big match today currently underway. We'll be talking about that one. It is South Africa up against New Zealand. But before we get into the nitty gritties of that match, I am not alone. I am with Tandy, and as always, we'll be going through this together. Ma'am, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm excited,
Uh-huh.
and my excitement comes from where and why.
Yeah.
You know,
I can't wait to hear about that one.
I mean, it's a very obvious thing. South Africa playing today, so as a South African, obviously, I'm very happy about that one.
Definitely.
You should also be, as a fellow African, as a neighbor, as a Zimbabwean, you should be happy.
I am.
Are
I
you?
am. I'm just trying to calm down from what happened yesterday, the unexpected scores and the way the teams played. So for now, it's one of those, okay, I've seen that match. Now looking forward to our neighbors here.
Unexpected for you, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that match.
Uh,
I don't know. Did you see it happening, coming out the way that it did with Bangladesh losing that match against Pakistan?
Well, like once told me, it's never lie. So it was pretty obvious, but it was one of those having much hope on the Bangladesh team. But I like the way Pakistan put out their best performance. It shows that they're really trying to make up of the losses they've been through, and they want to
Yeah.
maintain being at the top seven. Because currently, right now, they managed to find their way to be number 5, if I'm not mistaken, of which that shows that determination and knowing that when it comes to the finals, I mean the semifinals, that means they still have a chance because they've got 2 more games. So anything can happen.
So obviously that top 5 spot for them right now looks very good. We'll talk about why it looks very good. We'll talk about the ICC Championship trophy that was just announced on Monday.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we spoke about a Pakistan that just won over Bangladesh yesterday,
Mhm.
despite going through what they're going through right now, contractual issues with their cricket board back home. That just goes to show when you're in this and
Yeah.
you want to prove a point to yourself, to your country back home. So would you say that when you have such issues as that contractual matters, how do you just block the noise and just make sure that your head is on the field and you do what you have to do on the field of play and just win the matches?
Well, like what you said, it's all about being professional. You know what you are here for, and
Yeah.
you're here just to play the game because the game always brings, even if you've seen mostly in history, they usually play sports to come together, to have that solving the problems together.
It
But
unites
to
people.
unite people,
Yeah.
exactly, because if you have noticed, after matches, that's when the teams they meet together, have drinks to show that okay, we're at war at the ground. That's where we do our fights, the
Yeah.
bowling, betting. But afterwards, we're good friends now because what happens in our countries doesn't matter. Here we're here to be friends and good neighbors in the way. So it's all about being showing that sportsmanship. That's why there are those key values of maintaining that sportsmanship between the teams. And also, I saw that the way Pakistan chased down that score, it was pretty easy for them
Yeah.
because they were just chasing 205 runs and they only needed about what um about 3 people managed to chase that score, and that partnership, it shows they were united, and yeah, it was pretty good and nice to watch, really.
That's a very good chase, of course, by Pakistan yesterday. Bangladesh, that means they are out. Well, mathematically, they're out
Yes.
of the top, well, the race to the semi-final spot.
Yes.
But there is still a trophy that has to be played for in this World Cup. So if you're out of the top 4 by end of the group stages, that means you still have a chance to play for the ICC Championship Trophy. That means you have to make the top 7 in this World Cup. So the likes of Netherlands, the likes of England right at the bottom, they also still have a chance to fight for something. Because also, mathematically, it looks like England are also out. The defending champions are also out of this title race. Now, what do the teams at the bottom of the table have to do to make sure that they fight for that top 7 spot?
Wow, that's a good question right there. Because definitely they would need to come up with a stronger strategic plan, in the sense that they need to know who they are facing next, know their strengths and their weaknesses. That's when the sports analysts now need to come in place. We'll be like, okay, you've identified the weaknesses and strengths. How do we attack that team based on what we are good at, in terms of using our strengths to advantage and then using their weaknesses to win our side? Because, for example, like right now, I know I might be going off topic, but with the SA and New Zealand, they elected to bat first. To bowl. New Zealand elected to bowl. They won the toss and wanted to bowl. But they know that SA is good at batting first. But they knew that based on their strength, they've got stronger seam bowlers, and they can always narrow it down. They usually take more wickets during the first power play. That's their advantage and their strength. They're using that to their advantage. But based on these other teams who are down here, the Bangladesh, England, Netherlands, they've got their own strengths and weaknesses. So they can use those as the strategy to map themselves up to a higher advantage, so that they have more scores. Because I'm sure all the teams at the bottom, they're all left with 2 games, and those should be enough to end the spot for the top 7.
I mean, you're looking like a team, so I'm just quickly going through the table. You're looking at a team like England, right at the bottom. They've got only 1 win in their last 5 matches. You've got Bangladesh also with 5 losses in a row. Netherlands at number 8 with only 2 wins in 5 matches. Sri Lanka as well, very much good in that top 7 spot. However, it is still do or die, because if Netherlands do win their next game, it's still a jungle right at the bottom. So it's never too certain as to who can make it to the top 7. But of course, we do know that Pakistan will qualify, because they are the hosts of that one. They currently number 5 on the table. Now, coming back to obviously the top teams, you've got India, you've got South Africa, New Zealand, Australia in the top 4. Australia also, from a very big win against New Zealand, who are playing today. New Zealand will be looking to come into this match to just make sure that they redeem themselves after that very big loss to Australia last week. What do you think they're going to have to do differently this time around to make sure that they beat South Africa to keep their hopes of the semi-final spot alive?
Like what they're good at as usual. In their first 10 overs, they are usually good at taking out those wickets. So if they maintain that momentum, they are usually good at. I think for South Africa, the moment you remove most of the players, like the top order players, you're home and dry. As much as they are the middle orders and the tail enders, they're not as strong as the top guys. For example, they've got Quinton and Timber. If they don't remove them as soon as possible, really,
it's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem, because the moment once they're set, for example, for Timber, we remember last time we were complaining that he hasn't been performing, but I feel like today is one of the days where he needs to put out his best. And if they let him go that much, he knows he has so much to put in the team. And if they give him that leeway or the playground for him to play, I feel it will be harder for them to remove them at a later stage in the second power play, because the damage would have been done, the runs and the scores would be on the board. So they would have to chase a bigger score. And also what I've noticed is that with the stadium, is that it's a friendly area, a betting friendly area, in terms of for the bettors and also for bowling wise. So even higher scores can be scored in that pitch. And it's one of those, do it now. if you want to survive.
We'll come to the pitch report. Something very important though in that New Zealand lineup, we see Williamson is back in the starting 11 after just suffering thumb injury that took him out for a couple of days. But before that, the injury, he's been out for a very long time due to another injury. So he's back in the starting 11. Lockie Ferguson as well is back in the starting 11. So it's almost like New Zealand now have got their key players back.
Yes.
Does this change anything at all for the team?
It definitely does change it. They might not be 100% in form, but the fact that they have that mental support from the whole squad saying, okay, we're going to war with all our members or army, that shows
Yeah.
that they are strong mentally. And also, if Esed looks at it in the sense that all players are here, as much as they're injured,
Yeah.
they're going to be like frightened with just the look. That's way before the actual game. It's just a psychological thing because you realize they're not even going to be in the starting 11. They are back in the squad, but they'll be on the bench.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, it's for the moral support. And even if you're injured and you want to play, but the fact that you've been given a chance to sit on the bench and see how the other teams are playing, it has that motivation to do better. And also those who will be playing inside, they're saying we're in the team and we're going to play on behalf of these senior guys.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's one
yeah.
of those, I need the stats as well, but at the same time, we're going to win as a team.
So it seems like a lot of people made their return into today's encounter.
Yes.
Lungi Kiti was out with just a minor injury the last time South Africa played. Kagiso Rabada as well, coming back to just make sure that he continues to make a name for himself. He also spoke something very important, a very beautiful point that New Zealand in the first 10 overs, or let me just say in the first power play, they know how to take people out. So if you
Yes.
take a Quinton de Kock out in the first power play, you've sort of like demoralized South Africa in a way. But
Yeah.
of course, you will also be looking at a team that it's on form currently, in South Africa. So obviously, in order for New Zealand to break South Africa, it's gonna take a lot from them. Another
Yeah.
thing that you also mentioned is that New Zealand in the last power plays, they concede the least amount of runs. So now this would also mean that South Africa will have to score as many runs as they possibly can and
Yes.
avoid being taken out in the first power play. And in the middle overs, they also have to make sure that they get as many runs as possible.
Yes.
Who do you think is going to be the key player for South Africa to just make sure that they score as many as they can?
Our usual Quinton de Kock, Temba, and also
Markram as well has also been very
exactly,
key.
yes,
Yeah.
he has been doing excellently well in the sense that for the past games Temba hasn't been performing well, so him and Quinton as well, they've been doing well as much as Quinton the other games as well. It was one of those painful moments.
Quinton is like hot in 2 days, and then the next match is like,
It's
it goes down,
it's
and
up
then
and down.
yeah.
So imagine the emotions as well. So I hope today to be one of the positive moments where they at least perform their best. At least if they all manage to pass the 50 half a century mark, the better, because they've set the foundation for the other teams.
Yeah.
Because once you pass the 150 score, before there are so many wickets out, it's easier to maintain and also to put more runs on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And also, what I noticed is that for New Zealand, Trent Bolt is also part of the squad, and he only needs only 2 wickets. Then he has reached about 50 wickets in the
Sure.
World Cup. So it's one of those, everyone is chasing for their stats right now. It's one of those, we need to break the records. That's the kind of motivation and intensity is out there, because
Yeah.
I know Quinton also needs the runs, and Kakiso also needs the wickets. So it's one of those survival type of things.
Survival
Which-
of the fittest.
Oh yes. And currently, Kane Wilson is one of the New Zealand key players. He has the highest number of scores, and he has about 145 not out.
Yeah.
That's the highest number of runs he has scored so far. So that shows how much flesh or energy or power it's in each um in
It's in
each
each
group.
player,
Yeah, in
yeah.
each player. So that shows each team has its potential. Now it's a matter of strategy. How are they going to utilize that potential to produce the good runs? Because definitely it's going to be a big day today.
It's definitely going to be a big day. Let's just
Yeah.
quickly look at the head-to-head stats of the two teams. So in ODI World Cups, 8 matches in total played between the two teams.
Yeah.
New Zealand winning 6 of those, South Africa winning 2 of those. If we were to look at the stats, and obviously we shouldn't be doing that as we've seen so far in the tournament, that stats, when it comes to stats, it wouldn't work because every team is just here to fight and fight as one day at a time. So
Yes.
you're looking at that, South Africa having the lower hand in this match. Do you think that that's how the game is going to end today?
Well, that's a tricky one because, like what you've stated right now, that stats, as much as they say they are good and they predict what's going to happen, we might have our own predictions saying that New Zealand is an upper hand.
Yeah.
But it comes with the sense that as much as there's experience, because New Zealand, it shows that he has more experience compared to South Africa in terms of these kind of ODI games and winning, how they've been winning against SA. It
Yeah.
shows that they've mastered the skill of SA, how, which areas to tackle and where to hit and how to block them when it comes to their bowling attack. So I think it's one of those SA would have to redeem themselves in the sense that they've been beaten so much. Now it's as much as they won the previous ODI games, that means they need to maintain that momentum because they know if they lose, their
Yeah.
net run rate goes down because currently they're at the top. They've got 2.032. That's at the top, higher than India in terms of the net run rate. But if they lose this game, it means it will drop, and then
Yeah,
they will drop
yeah.
again to be number 3. So, and these are not the times to be at the bottom because what I've noticed in the past years is that when it comes to the semifinals, it's the top 4, and usually the one at the top, the number 1, plays against the number 4, then the number
Yeah.
2 plays against number 3. So you wouldn't want to face India in the semifinals. Might as well just see them in the finals. It's better because
Yeah.
okay, I've been to the finals.
But I mean, it's just that
it's a
it's hard
strategy.
losing the final as well.
The same is literally like guessing the finishing
light,
line is over there,
but
and
you're
you
not
just
making it there.
exactly. So it's one of those. They need to find ways they can attack New Zealand. It's one of those attacking games. Instead of defending all the time, they should just have to be attacking. If you see the ball, just hit as much as you can. Because I feel they can defend a higher score compared to
Yeah.
if it's a safe score. So it will put less pressure on the bowlers. That's what I would think. I don't know how about you. What would you say?
I mean, okay, first of all, something that just happened, an update. So you've mentioned something very important earlier on, that New Zealand, they really thrive so well in the first 10 overs and taking those wickets. They have just taken somebody out. I'm going to give an update on that. So as things stand, 38 for 1, 8 over in 8 overs. So for me, you asked how do I see this match turning out?
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand have played without their key players, in this World Cup. They've lost to India in their very last encounter. So obviously,
Yeah.
coming into this match, they've got a point to prove. Not only that, whoever that wins today is one step closer to the semi-final. So they wouldn't want that to just like slip through their fingers because they literally can, smell the semi-finals. However, with South Africa, on the other hand, you've got players who really have played for the batch and they do want to make it. This time around, they will want to make it out of the semi-finals. For me, I feel like the semi-final spots, I mean, it's as good as done for South Africa if they do win today's match.
Yes.
They will be facing India on Sunday. That's not going to be an easy match. But if they do get past New Zealand today and India maybe on Sunday, then I can say that we might be cruising nicely to the final.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Oh yeah, like what happened with the World Cup for rugby. I'm sure they would want to have the same feeling as well.
Exactly.
Pressure from home.
Pressure from home. You have to perform as well. Let's talk about now. I just want us to talk about, obviously we'll keep updating everybody with what's happening in today's match. Let's talk about the importance of this championship trophy that will be taking place. What does it mean? What would it mean to the teams that qualify for that one? Let's say you fail, obviously, to make it through to the semi-final of the World Cup. Is that in any way sort of like a consolation to say, okay, if I fail to win the World Cup, I still have something to play for?
Yes, definitely. It's one of those. You are given a second chance now. You didn't make it to the finals. You didn't make it to the World Cup finals. Now you have a second chance to put up together your master plan, and then
Yeah.
since it's going to be in 2025 in Pakistan, it shows that literally you have 2 years or so to put up together, recover, and re-strategize for the next
Yeah.
competition. And the what I heard is that it's going to be the top seven. So
Mm.
meaning literally it's going to be another head-to-head problem again. And I feel like it's one of those first time ever, based on what I've noticed or heard. I'm not so sure. Maybe they've happened before,
Yes.
but I think it's a exciting thing that it's going to happen, and it gives the team a chance to play again in the top seven, and the teams will be all over the world. So I think, well,
It's a good
yeah,
thing. I
yeah,
think more than anything, it's sort of like is a confidence booster to whoever that loses
yes,
on the semi-final spot to say, hey, okay, I might not have played a semi-final of the ICC 23 Cricket Men's World Cup. However, I still have a chance to win something for my country back home.
mm,
So that is good. We spoke about that. Coming back to the game, we spoke about the head-to-head stats, right? In well, between the two teams, we have to look at it now again. The total matches that they've played all together in one day internationals is 71 matches.
yes,
South Africa having an upper hand on that one, winning 41 of them.
yes.
New Zealand winning 24. So based on this one, we would say that South Africa do have an upper hand on this one. But in the most recent ones, in the last 8, we've seen that South Africa only won 2. So based on the two stats, do we give it to South Africa as a straight win for this one?
Well, somehow what I've noticed, when it comes to ODI World Cups, the pressure somehow it changes based on the normal ODI matches because it's one of those they feel like it's friendly matches.
Yeah.
Yes, they are out there to practice or train more, but the pressure, like what we have seen from these small teams in the World Cup,
Oh,
things
causing
just change.
upsets.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knew England would be at the bottom? That's in the World Cup pressure. But when you look at the rankings in the world of these ODI games, you realize they're already in the top three at the top. But somehow things change when it comes to the World Cup. It's survival of the fittest. So the moment you're in, you know you're in. And also, like what you had asked earlier on about the championship tournament trophy, it's a chance to redeem yourself, like what you had said. And we are playing more ODI games, meaning if more
Yeah.
exposure and exposure in terms of the ODI games, considering there are going to be more World Cup coming after 5 years, which will be 2027,
Yeah.
around there. And they know that they won't be in the qualifiers as well because they've now the experience. So
Mm,
this is what I get basically when it comes to the ODI internationals only compared to the ODI World Cup. It shows that anyone can win that trophy. So there's more pressure in the World Cups compared to the ODIs. So for
mm.
the South Africa, yes, they might have more wins because maybe they would have the home advantage. Here it's
Yeah.
neutral. So it's anyone's land really. It's now a matter of what can you do with all these wins and experience against New Zealand.
Yeah.
What have you mastered which you can use now as your trap card right now, which will make you move to the upper hand.
But talking about that championship trophy, yes, it might be a second chance to redeem yourself. But don't you think that the team that get to win the World Cup or the teams that make the top 4 stand a higher chance of winning it than the teams that just finished, below the top 4?
What happened with England? They're the one last
Okay,
World
that's a
Cup.
very fair point. That's a very
And
fair
have
point.
you seen how Netherlands has been playing? Yes, they might be the underdog. They don't have much experience in terms of wins of the ODI statuses
Yeah.
compared to these ones, but they managed to shake up South Africa, who knew it's at the top of the rankings right now. So it's one of those the smaller teams now they're saying we've been given another chance to
Yeah.
show what we can do. And what I've noticed is that every game, they improve how they play. They might be facing a tougher team, but that means they are learning from their mistakes. And each game, they're improving, they're becoming better than they are. So for the
yeah.
bigger teams like New Zealand or South Africa,
Or
they
even
shouldn't.
India.
Or India, exactly. The way everyone is so crazy about Virat Kohli, it's
Yeah.
that they shouldn't forget that yes, they're at the top of the ranking right now, and it's not the end of the end of the World Cup.
Yeah.
In the sense that there are two more other games, and you never know. Maybe Australia will rise from number 4 to being in the
In the
at the
top,
top.
yeah.
So it shows that in each game they need to learn something. Like what I always emphasize on, it's a learning curve. Each mistake, like right now, what I've seen, you told us about the update of the first wicket, which
Yeah.
is Timber right now,
Mm.
in the first power play. It shows that he needs to continue seeing where he's making that mistake so that he avoids. Because in the finals, hey, we don't want heartaches.
But the thing with Temba Bavuma, it's for quite some time now. Now
Uh-huh.
it's been a pattern that he's taken out
Yeah.
so early in the game from a captain. Surely that is a concern.
What do you think is really going on, Ray?
I really would like to know as well because I'm
'Cause
I'm
ish.
I'm really not in the business of making excuses for him. I really want to know what the problem is because also in the previous matches he was taken out very early on in the match.
Yes.
Same thing even today. It seems to be a pattern that needs to be fixed before we get into the semi-finals.
Yes.
'Cause
Considering he's one of the top batsmen in the history so far in South Africa, would they consider the moment he holds the bat, that means the balls are just going to be flying all over.
Mm.
So it's one of those we're in that suspense to see what's really going on, or the moment he starts showing off that talent of his.
Not only just that, Temba is yet to score 50 runs. 50 runs in this World Cup.
Uh-huh. What's going
Like
on?
what's going on? I think there's something that is going on and something has to be fixed.
Mhm.
I don't know. As somebody that has played cricket,
Cricket.
what's the problem in cases like this?
Well, I've been giving so much excuses, the maybes, the psychology. I can't say it's the nutrition because they are well taken care of. He's a professional athlete. It's in the
Definitely.
World Cup. You can't say it's the fatigue because technically he has been coming out early. So maybe there's just something, I don't know, the underlying condition somewhere which needs to be addressed. Or the problem is in the first power play there's so much tension in terms of we are open spacemen. You don't know what to
Yeah.
expect from a certain bowler. You're still trying to settle in, studying the ball. I guess he's taking so much time for him to settle into the crease so that he's
Yeah.
comfortable enough to hit the ball. Or he's trying his best to hit the ball, but it's just not good enough to be away from the fielders, maybe. I don't know really.
Oh. You have to come back to the point that you made.
Uh-huh.
The first power play almost done 44 for 1, meaning that South Africa knew which parts to focus on. And they knew that if they don't take you out in the first power play, then you do stand a chance to play till probably the last power play. So obviously that is a positive for South Africa. Do you think that they did their homework on this?
Definitely, they did. They did because now it's 44 for 1, like what you just said. It might not be enough runs because they're like playing safe right now. So
I
it's a
mean,
safe game in the moment because
yeah.
it's one of those, there were fewer fielders. First power play, we only have 2. That means you can always maximize, you need that energy to be hitting the 4s and the 6s to just put the ball over the fielders because for the
Yeah.
ones, those ones are tricky. So the dot balls, they're just going to be costing them. That means second power play, they need to pull up the socks because at this rate,
It's not looking
it's
too
not
good.
looking good.
Not
Because
looking too
right
good.
now I'm looking at the bowling side of like the New Zealand side. I'm seeing Trent is the one who took out Temba Mavuma
Mhm.
with that first wicket. That means he's now left with one more wicket, and
To make history.
it makes his history. His stats look good now. So I don't know. Maybe that's the plan to donate the scores or not. But right now, I feel like they need the oncoming guys. The moment they get into the crease, they need to tell themselves, "I can do this." And they need to watch the ball correctly because the moment if you just hit the ball blindly, there might be someone close by to catch the ball or by the slips there or nick the ball and you're caught out. So you really need to strategize, put your maximum concentration on the ball, and it should be easy.
And you speak about 44, well, 47 now,
Mhm.
first power play concluded. You speak about that not being enough runs. What would have been the perfect number of runs in the first power play? And what would be the perfect, runs in the second power play to just make sure that you have as many runs as possible to make it almost impossible for New Zealand to chase?
Well, okay, let me quickly just check on the previous stats based on how New
How they've
Zealand.
been playing in the first
Yes,
power play.
yes.
Yeah, so far it looks like South Africa did their homework. Only one wicket down in the
Mm.
first power play. Now in the second power play, we'll see how that goes. But they so far they've passed the test of
Of
obviously
doing their best.
yeah, in the first power play.
Okay, I just found this. Over the 6 innings for New
Yeah.
Zealand, the first power play, they've scored a total of 307. And then for South Africa, 6 innings the same number of batters, 5-5.
Yeah.
They've scored 295, meaning they're only
In five
averaging
innings.
in 6 innings,
Six
but
innings.
5 batters.
Yeah.
So meaning they're averaging of 36 per per power play.
Yeah.
That means SA only has 36 runs per power play compared to New Zealand. It has an average of 43. That shows that
The
difference. That
difference in the
in the
yeah.
first power play, New Zealand always
Has
makes
the
sure
upper
that they
hand.
hit.
Yeah.
Then the second power play, that's the same 6 innings, but New Zealand has more batters, meaning our bowling side might be good because
Yeah.
more batters are around. They score a total of 1,093
Sure.
runs
Yeah.
from those top batters.
Mm-hmm.
And then South Africa is 1,064.
Yeah.
We look at the average for New Zealand might be less because that shows SA only capitalized in the second power play because they have 88 runs in the second power play. That's when now they do the damage control. Since the first power play, they didn't score much. Now they need to maximize the second power play. That's when they have 88 runs. Then New Zealand will be now in the lower side because of the middle order.
Yeah.
They have 52 runs average. Then the last power play, that's when New Zealand maximize again. That's where they get it correct, where they've got 520 runs total from the 6 innings.
Yeah.
Then South Africa has 343 of 5 innings. That means at times they don't even make it to the third power play, meaning that the average for South Africa is around 22 runs. And then for New
This is in the
Zealand,
last power play.
last power play,
Yeah.
that's the only time when they make it to the third power play because it's usually the tail enders. The bowlers are the
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
batting. Then for New Zealand, they've got average of got 37 runs. It shows that New Zealand starts off at the high note, then they
It
relax.
fluctuates. Yeah.
Exactly. But for South Africa, it's one of those low, the beginning. That's when the first top batters come out.
Yeah.
Then higher at the
The middle overs.
yeah, in the middle overs, the second power play, because that's when they are now stable. They have got control of the game. They're now hitting the runs.
Yeah.
Then they all go out, the middle orders and the top orders. Now it's all about the tail enders. They need to survive now. That's when the scores become low. Compared to New Zealand, it's high at the top and at the end, then lower in the middle. I feel like South Africa, if they maintain, at least if it means being at the
So they
top,
have to maximize
they
now in
need
the
to
second power
maximize in the
play.
first.
Yeah. In
Yeah,
the second one, you get as many runs as possible.
exactly,
Because
like
that is
what they've
where
been doing. So if they get as much as possible with lesser wickets being taken out,
yeah.
the better. That means at least they've managed to defend a better score compared to if it's a low one, okay, in the cup of first two power plays,
Yeah.
New Zealand would have caught up based on the experience they have. So we still have a long way to go.
So, in your opinion, then, now that
Mhm.
we've established that in the second power play, New Zealand
Mhm.
don't really know how to play it. For South Africa, how many runs would be perfect to just make sure that they seal this deal in the second power play before going into the last one, where we know that New Zealand don't really concede as many runs in the third power play?
Um, I can just estimate the whole total
Okay.
because I can't really break it down per se in the sense that anything could happen.
Yeah.
And any number, at least if they cross over about 260, the better.
What?
Second
This is
power play.
okay. I
Second
thought
power
you were
play.
saying the
Okay,
overall
for the
total.
overall, I feel what I've noticed based on the previous games and other teams is that it's harder to get to 300 very quickly. So if you have 300 plus runs on your scoreboard and you need
Yeah.
to defend that, it's easier. It's less taxing in terms of the bowlers. They make less mistakes because they know, okay, the batters managed to put this. Now it's our turn to outshine these guys. So and if you have less than 260 runs,
But this
that's
is
a
South
painful
Africa we're
one.
talking about. They've been averaging a total of like 300 plus runs,
Yes,
you know,
so
in the
we need
previous
those
matches.
300 and the 400s if it's possible. But that was against which teams?
Sri Lanka.
Exactly. So it's one of those Sri Lanka, New Zealand type of thing. The other one weighs more than the like New Zealand right now. It's a 50-50 game. So it's really
Anyone's match.
because if they manage to lose against Netherlands, who no one expected, they expected a simple win. It shows
But
that.
don't you think that loss to Netherlands was because looking at the stats as well,
Uh-huh,
South Africa have always had the upper hand.
uh-huh,
They know how to beat Netherlands.
mhm,
Maybe some sort of like complacency from South Africa, you know.
mhm.
Maybe that was the point. Don't you think so?
Well, if we have to use the point, it will be the same with the ODIs, like the states which you
Yes.
showed me right
Yeah.
now, not the World Cup ones. They have an upper hand. They know how to
Exactly.
beat New Zealand.
Yeah.
So now they don't need to relax per se. They can still do it again. They can pretend it's their normal ODI game. It's not a World Cup, and relax. But with the strong mindset, definitely they can do it. But with the way New Zealand is just like power hungry and they
Yeah.
want to maximize on everything, score those records, I feel it's not going to be an easy 300 the way we want. It might be end on two something, but at least they should have put on those runs on the scoreboard.
Yeah. I just need to ask you this before we just wrap up the whole chat. South Africa
Yeah.
playing New Zealand today.
Mhm.
So it's the battle of number 2 and number 3. South Africa will be playing India
Mhm.
on Sunday. I feel like that is one of the biggest games of the matches to look forward to. You know, both teams
Definitely.
currently on the greatest forms of their life. What do you anticipate happening in that match?
It's another tough one. It's like this one.
Is it a tough one though? Is it
Okay.
really?
Yes, in the sense that, well, India has the names, he has the players from the batters to the bowlers. It's a well balanced
They've got
team.
the fans as well selling out stadiums
Definitely,
every
the fans'
match.
pressure, and South Africa will be having the home pressure as well. Fans, us here, will be pressurizing them as well. But it's one of those. What can they do really in terms of what's based on the skills and the experience they have, the talent they have? How are they going to maximize? Because so far, I'm seeing people are getting injured
Yeah.
here and there, which is not a good sign. Meaning that fatigue, which I always complain about or talk about, is that it always kicks in. So if without that rotation,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard because I know one for sure for India, they might use the same strong top
Yeah.
players to
Your
play against
colleague.
South Africa
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's the big match right there, and it's a must match because I was hearing one of the colleagues I remember they were saying, okay, if you guys win like South Africa, win against
Will
India, this time. That means we'll meet again in the finals. So it's one of those.
Sure. That's if they
It's
make it to the
an
finals.
exactly. So it's one of those, they know what's on their hand. They've got that thing, they have that power hunger or World Cup hunger
Yeah.
to make it at the top. So that's the same energy we need as well as South Africa, that we shouldn't relax that we've made it in the top four, but to take it all the way up to the end.
We have to take it all the way up to the end.
Definitely.
Definitely. But another thing, you said that India have got the backing of everyone. You've got the fans, you've got the players who are just chasing records all the all the time. The last time they won the Cricket World Cup was in 2011. They were hosting the World Cup. It's 2023, unbeaten in 6 matches,
Yes.
and they are the hosts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the same script being rewritten again of what happened in 2011 when they won the World Cup?
With good strategy, definitely not. But if people let them,
Not.
in terms of if you have a good strategy against the big team and you're a small team, you can always win. It's like an elephant versus an ant. So it's one of those. If an ant
Who
is
being an ant in this case?
well, here I won't say,
Wow.
but it's one of those. I definitely India can be beaten in the sense that they know where to attack, but at the same time, it's not going to be an easy one. It's not like they're just going to serve it on a silver platter because they know they're solid. If they don't make it in the betting lineup, like last time when Virat Kohli came out early, it didn't really matter because they knew they were covered by the bowler side because they attack. What I've noticed with India, they do an attacking game. So if us were only just defending, won't go far. But you need to also attack, but strategically, because that's when you make those silly mistakes as well. So SA versus
India.
in India, it won't be an easy game as well, because they know okay, we're playing big teams here. They know what's on the stake here, and definitely India won't want to just lose just like that because they've been maintaining those consistent wins.
Yeah.
So it won't just be an easy loss, but it will be definitely a fun, interesting match to watch.
Encounter.
Exactly.
And obviously with India we know that whether they're chasing or they're betting first, they
Yes.
just get the results. They know how to win.
Mhm.
South Africa, on the other hand, chasing being a very
It's an
huge
issue.
thorn in their skin. Like, if
Mhm.
ever they were to chase in that match on Sunday,
Yeah,
do you think the fight for them?
it's definitely going to be hard because definitely it's going to be hard in the sense that India is that those tendencies of posting a higher score, and they know how to
Yeah.
defend those. So we just hope and pray that we win the toss and we
Bet
manage to
first.
bet first. Because yeah, at least for the New Zealand game, we're given that opportunity to bet first. So we should utilize and maximize on that, scoring big scores and then managing to maintain that standard. I feel we'll see which side as well.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up today. New Zealand, South Africa, who's winning that one for you?
Definitely our neighbors.
South
They
Africa.
need to.
They need
They
to.
need to, yes.
Because I'm from South Africa as well, I'll just say South Africa will be
Yes.
winning that one. So that's all we had for this power play. Tasman will be joining me right now to just talk about that encounter of what's currently happening South Africa and New Zealand right now. Currently, I'm joined by Zimbabwean international cricketer Tasman Granger. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you. There is a match currently underway right now, South Africa, New Zealand. What are your overall thoughts on that match, like the encounter between the two teams?
Yeah, definitely a big game right now happening today. It's going to be something super important for both teams. Obviously, at the top of the table, it's a case of ranking right now and
Yeah.
whereabouts you find yourself finishing in the top four, as well as who you're going to play against the semi-final.
And obviously, with New Zealand having the upper hand against South Africa, we mentioned something earlier on off air that New Zealand, they maximize in the first power play. They take as many wickets as they can in the first power play. They've only taken out one so far. What does it mean? South Africa, did they do their homework coming into this encounter?
Yeah, definitely. I think, they would have wanted to obviously err on the side of caution and not lose too many wickets starting up front so that they can have the back end and they have a strong tail. South Africa probably one of the teams in this World Cup currently with the deepest batting order as well. So they want to give their guys in the middle order the opportunity to come out and play their natural game and play freely, not having to come back and rebuild and then start to accelerate in the later times.
Does actually, the players like Lockie Ferguson coming back into the starting lineup, you also have into the matchday squad, you also have the captain who've been out for quite a very long time in Williamson. Do them coming back have any impact on the team as a whole, New Zealand?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would have made a big difference for them. They're still missing Kane Williamson in the squad today as well. And Lockie Ferguson, he's been bowling well for them. He's been one of the guys. He's their Gerald Coetzee so far in this World Cup. So them obviously coming in, giving the team a boost, showing New Zealand that to say that these are key players for you guys, and them not being available today, I think does put New Zealand back on a back foot as well. So, but they do have the likes, Tim Southee back in the squad for them today. Great pace bowler up front and the things he's been doing. But I think in place of Lockie Ferguson and guys like that, Jimmy Neesham has stepped up. We've seen him come out last game and try and steal the game away from India. So those are players like in Jimmy Neesham. If Tom Latham gets firing today, he'll definitely have something to offer up for the Kiwis today.
Let's talk about Themba Bavuma, the South African captain, who we've been talking about every single match, it seems, since the commencement of the World Cup. He's the first one to go out. Just tell me what you think about, his captaincy and obviously the way that he's been playing since the World Cup started.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. Bavuma leading up to the World Cup games and South Africa's Rocky Patch coming into the World Cup was the guy that was performing. He was the guy in form. He was the guy that was happening. I don't know, maybe a bit of World Cup pressure as well, combating the mental aspect of his game. But he hasn't managed to pass beyond the 35-run mark for me and I'm not entirely sure what's going on with him. I know he's letting his team down. He's letting himself down. And he probably needs to work on it if they want to see themselves being a formidable opponent within the semi-finals and going forward to the final.
As a player, I would assume that you obviously sometimes go through that. But when such happens and you're not able to deliver results, obviously, like you're saying, he's disappointing himself, the whole team. What then does the coach say to you to just make sure that you perform well in the next matches?
Yeah, I think a coach will tell you it's what's happening right now. It's what's happened against be it New Zealand, England, or whoever. But you still have a couple of games going on, so you need to put it aside, compartmentalize it, deal with it mentally, and just go on and do what you got to do, because at the end of the day, you're still the captain. Regardless of the fact that you've come out right now, you still need to lead your team when you go back on the field to bowl. You still need to take your team to the finish line as well as the World Cup goes on.
Yeah. Can I ask, you were once a captain of your team at some point?
Yeah, definitely at franchise level.
So as a captain then, when you're not performing as well, what do you say what do you go back to the people that you lead?
You see, at the end of the day, the best part about cricket is 11 people step on this field.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that if you have one anchor that's not firing on that day, it is a team sport at the end of the day. And the way a team is built around is, especially when there's chemistry in your team, everybody learns to pick up the slack around each other as well.
Yeah.
So as a captain, you still got to show a strong front for your guys at the end of the day, because if I come down with my head down when I walk on the field, automatically the body language of my team comes down. It's just simply a case of, we've got this, guys. I know that I didn't do well enough today, but I know you guys got this and you got me too.
But now it's not just one match. 6 matches so far.
Yeah.
The 7th one now, same thing. He's yet to reach 50 runs. That is a very huge concern, obviously, for the coaches, and not only them, but
yeah. But
well.
I'll let you know something, that the difference between scoring a 0 and scoring a 30 is a very big difference as well. Okay, so it would be a different case if we're talking about the fact that he's had 5 zeros in a line, and he's not getting anywhere. He's doing bad, but he could be doing worse as well in the same sense.
So he's doing
okay.
I
think he just might be doing his current level best that he feels. Obviously he knows he's capable of more. He knows he can do more, but it's what he's got right now in his tank, and I believe he's possibly giving it his all. We can't exactly be the person and tell you what he's going through or what's happening for him, but we can just hope that he's doing his best on the day.
So South Africa come into this match having won the last match against Pakistan by 1 wicket. That was a very close one for them. Kagiso Rabada makes a return into the starting 11. Does his return make any impact in Team South Africa?
Yeah, definitely. I think having Rabada in the squad is great. They were missing that extra seamer up front as well for them, and we know that Rabada's death bowling figures are just spectacular now. Yeah. We've seen India manage to accelerate actually towards the back end of the innings, because they bowled Shamsi longer. South Africa found themselves bowling
yeah.
Shamsi longer. Whereas in the instance that they had Rabada, then Marco Jansen has someone to bowl the death overs with as well. Not to mention Lungi Ngidi back in the squad again. For me, he's that wild card, because if he's hitting his lines on the day and he's getting the ball to move, he becomes a very lethal weapon to have in your arsenal.
I know you rate Lungi Ngidi so much. You've made it very known all the time. What is it that he brings into the team every single time he's on the field?
Yeah, he's not one of the quickest guys out there, but he's definitely one of the most consistent for me. Everybody these days wants to talk about speed and swing and seam, but nobody forgets the fact of consistency is key, especially when you're a fast bowler, because the quicker the ball comes in the wrong area, it's the quicker it's getting dispatched as well, and it's the quicker it's going for boundaries. But it's about whether you can proactively think and adjust in the instance and in the moment. He's not one of the most experienced players, but I definitely believe that he's got the potential to get there.
So what do you think is going to happen today? What would your prediction between the game, New Zealand and South Africa?
Yeah, if South Africa manages just to hold their nerve for a bit longer, for me, and get into a groove, get into a rhythm. We've seen right now at the crease Quinton de Kock not doing too badly as well. He's got himself going on. So I think the longer that they stick out there, we have a saying as players, that the longer you're out there, the easier it gets type of situation. So they just need one solid partnership, probably 100+ partnership at top of the order. It will be a foundation to give the guys, because they have a deep batting lineup. They go and go and go and go all the way to number 8,
Yeah.
So it gives those guys that are coming in at a later period the opportunity to be able to come and play their natural game, play the big shots. South Africa currently is one of those teams with the highest boundary count right now in the World Cup. So that tells you that they do have the power and they do have the ability to accelerate, but they can't accelerate if they don't have wickets in hand.
Sure. That is a very, very valid point right there. Speaking of that, whoever that wins today gets to cement one foot into the semi-final. So if it is South Africa, they will be playing against India on Sunday, probably one of the biggest matches of the tournament. How do you see that one turning around?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'm not allowed to say, but I still will be supporting South Africa. That's for sure.
I mean,
it's going to be one of the biggest games. They're two of the top teams firing right now on all cylinders for me.
Yeah.
Strong batting orders, strong bowling lineups as well. I believe regardless of South Africa's up and downs of not being able to chase, they have been able to sort of figure out the recipe. You know how it is. You got to decide maybe less salt, a bit more sugar type of situation. But on the other hand, you have India that's firing on all cylinders. But you can't forget the fact that for them as well, setting and batting first hasn't entirely had the most perfect recipe for them. So they still have a few tweaks to work out in their dressing room as well. They still have the instance where they have players trying to figure out, if we lose Rohit early, what needs to happen? If we lose Virat early, what needs to happen? I don't believe their middle order has been tested entirely. So it'll be interesting to see, both teams still have a few areas they can expose of each other's games to turn it into one of those great spectacles.
So you're saying that India basically relies on individual brilliance of Kohli and Sharma as well?
Yeah, not entirely though. We've seen that they've managed to get a few games in here and there where Surakna Kumar is coming to the party. You have different guys in their middle order as well. But to say they've been entirely tested, I'd like to see them, South Africa, take a quick 3 wickets by, say, 15 overs and see what happens after that.
That would be a shocker, wouldn't it be? In the first 15 overs.
Yeah, definitely. It's been happening. There's a couple of games. We've seen yesterday Bangladesh was 3 down by 15 overs, and it just sort of tamps down the scoring rate as well in the game. You guys don't have the entire freedom, but then you see the likes of experience coming in. That's when you see the big match temperament coming out in players, how often and how well they can control their emotions. Trust me, this game is played 80% of the time mentally before you even step on the field. So it's so much that happens to them in their minds ahead of time. And even in the instance, things that happen on the field that have to tweak the way you believe or what your plans were in your mind in order to be able to execute it on the field.
Cool. Let's talk about the announcement that was made on Monday by the ICC, introducing the ICC Championship Trophy. What are your thoughts on that trophy?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant initiative. You have guys like Netherlands fighting to get in there. You have guys like Afghanistan fighting to get in there. One thing you must understand, if you come from an associate nation, that means you don't have test playing status. You do not get games to play against the top 5 or top 6 or whatever it may be in the world, because their international calendar is already booked. Before you think of the fact that the international calendar might have a gap, 80% of players are playing IPL, they're playing WBBL, they're playing the 100, you know. So there is no time for you to get a chance in with big squads. And as an associate nation, you need to play better opposition. Whether you're winning, whether you're losing, you will be getting better at the end of the day. So it's a brilliant initiative to have the Champions Trophy, because it then gives those teams a chance to get more fixtures in with the big teams in the world as well right now, and better their game. We've seen what it's done for Afghanistan. They've spent quite a lot of their time this past season in India using facilities, rubbing shoulders with the people from here as well, and big players, and it's reflective in their game. It definitely shows up.
For a team like Netherlands, for a team like England, struggling right there at the bottom, especially England at number 10, the defending champions, performing as badly as they've ever in their World Cup history, and then coming into that match. What do you think they will have to do differently this time around? Because as far as things are, they will not make the semi-final of this year's tournament. Now, do you think they do stand a better chance into making it to the top 7 and eventually qualify for the ICC Championship Trophy?
Yeah, definitely. They a bit out of it at this stage. You know, it's hard for them to even find a place there. It's going to be interesting if they have to go through the qualifying stage, because they will find themselves along the likes of the West Indies, Zimbabwe. You know, teams that haven't made it this far, Scotland and the likes, and it's crazy. It's crazy from being world champions to going back on the graph, but maybe it will be what they need to be able to find where they went wrong and what was going on, and rebuild and possibly come back stronger.
I love that. Now, I just want to get your views on something while I let you drink your water. And we've seen what happened yesterday. Obviously, that match between Bangladesh and Pakistan, with Pakistan going through what are to be said as contractual issues. You are a cricketer. Are you guys able to like switch off your minds from whatever that is happening on the outside of the field, and just make sure that you're focused and your full focus is on playing?
You know, yeah, it's different for everybody. I can't speak for another human being, you know, but for me personally, regardless of what's going on, when I'm off the field, I believe when I step onto the field, that's my haven. That's my safe place, you know. That's the one place I get to be myself, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about me or whatever's going on the outside as well. So it's different. It's definitely hard, I won't lie to you, to just shut it off and say you're focusing on the task at hand. But they know what they went to the World Cup for. They know what their plans are, to show that they're good enough to be there as well. So I think, the guys were just, it's hard as well when you have the media constantly throwing it at you and exposing your business. Nothing about your private life is actually private at the end of the day. But I think they know why they're there. We've seen it yesterday in their performance against Bangladesh. They're out here still trying to step their authority and say, look, we know what's going on. Yes, we know we have our own drama. Yes, we know what's going on, but we're here to play cricket, and just give us the room, give us the space to play cricket, because we're actually pretty good at it.
Yeah. And now for those who might not have any idea of what is happening in Pakistan with the whole cricket board and the players, the contract matters, do you mind just, explaining everything to us in detail as far as you know?
I'm not entirely clear on the details personally. As a player, I know how it is, people constantly prying into matters that have nothing to do with them, neither if they can change the situation, to be honest with you. So, just from my understanding, I think they haven't either been issued contracts, restating the contracts or whatever it is. And what it just does is you have guys now having to find alternative employment. We've seen it with the Netherlands a couple of years ago. We've seen a tweet by Van Meeken the other day to say, from being a pizza delivery guy to standing on a World Cup stage, guys are forced into the instance of having to find other employment to be able to support families, to support just the livelihood, and it does make it a lot harder, because now you need to split yourself between a 9-to-5 job, as well as split yourself into giving yourself time to play, to be eligible and to be good enough to partake in the team's events or whatever it is that the team requires from you as well. So it does make matters definitely a lot harder for them. But like I said, I'm not entirely clear on what's going on for them.
So that's good, because it seems like it's not in any way affecting their performance in the field of play. Currently number 5 on that log table. They do stand a pretty good chance of making it to semifinals. What do you think? Are they going to make it to
I'd love to see them cause a bit of trouble and knock Australia out of there. Definitely, I'm all for the theatrics. I like the unpredictable, and when it's that way, it's good. It feels like ODI cricket is still alive, regardless of what's going on, whether it looks entirely obvious. Same thing instance, India could lose the next 2 games or 3 games they have left on the charts and find themselves at number 2, at number 3. based on who they're losing these games to as well. So it can still shuffle around. Yeah, more or less, it looks like the top four may be decided, but there's still the element of what could happen if somebody else steps up to the plate and says, look, today we just coming out here to do what we believe is what is best for the day.
You mentioned India potentially losing the next 2 matches for them, but realistically, do you see that happening?
Well, they're in great form. They're in great touch. The South Africa game is definitely one of their tougher ones of the two. Beyond that, the Netherlands. Yeah, I'd just like to see them put up a fight. Netherlands are those guys that have a great fighting spirit. They entirely and wholly adopt the fact of it's not over until the last ball type of situation. So, no, they may not potentially lose those games, maybe just one. But, yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see what happens.
But obviously, if they lose one match in this group stage, they're still very safe. However, if it were to happen in the semis, then people would say that would be a shocker.
Definitely. Semi-finals are just something else. It's a switch in the mental gears. It's no longer you telling yourself, regardless of starting the tournament on a back foot, if you're Australia, you have time to make up for it at the end. It's do or die in the semi-finals. If you're on, you're on. If you're off, you're gone. That's just how it works in the semi-finals, definitely.
Definitely. Thank you so much. We'll be giving you updates in as far as that match between New Zealand and South Africa is concerned. Thank you so much for joining me, Tasman.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.